Chemistry. It's one of the easiest and most scoring subtopics in science for class 10 boards. Generally, what we get from chemistry is very direct from the book and it is very simple to score there. In comparison to physics, where we sometimes struggle in numericals, or in bio, sometimes people find it difficult to learn. I'm just saying sometimes, I don't know about everyone. Okay, so today I'll be giving you some tips chapter wise from chemistry class 10. So how you can score excellently in the boards for chemistry class 10. Okay, it's really very simple to score if you follow some strategy to study chemistry throughout the year, practice some important things. It is really going to be very simple. So let's begin, and a very good morning to all of you. The first the chemistry occupies 1/3 of your 80 marks in the science paper of class 10. Okay, 1/3 of the 80 marks of science paper of class 10 is occupied by chemistry, which is approximately 25 marks. 22 to 25 marks we get generally from chemistry. Okay. There are 5 chapters in our chemistry. Chapter 1 to 5 of the NCERT: chemical equations and reactions, acid, bases and salts, metals and non-metals, carbon and its compound, that is the organic chemistry chapter, and periodic table. Okay, so let's understand them each one by one. The first one is chemical equations and reactions. Now this is the basic chapter from which the entire chemistry, mainly the first 3-4 chapters of chemistry, are governed by this chapter only. The most important things to learn from this chapter will include your understanding of equations and balancing. Balancing generally will give you a question. Even if it is not asked directly, when you are asked chemical equations from the other chapters, you have to balance them, otherwise you will lose marks. Second is types of reactions. Types of reactions generally give you a question, and mostly from the types of reactions we get a question on redox reactions, and we get a question on double displacement or DD reactions. Okay, in double displacement you should know what kind of precipitate is formed, generally that is asked, and in redox reactions, which is the oxidizing agent. Okay, so if I'll just write redox separately, if I talk about redox, I should know all this, which is the oxidizing agent, okay, which is the reducing agent. I have a video on this, you can watch that in the channel, which is the substance oxidized, and which is the substance reduced. Substance oxidized is always your reducing agent, and substance reduced is always your oxidizing agent. It is an easy trick to remember this. Okay. Further, mostly we are asked in the 1 markers, we almost always I will say, get a question on reasoning. Now what kind of reasoning do we get from this chapter? The reasoning includes either your reasoning or naming kind of questions, I can say. Some questions on observations, like I have turned copper solid in air and it turned black after some time. Why did that happen? Because a thin layer of copper oxide was formed. Copper in air formed your copper oxide, and this was black. Such questions. Then I can be given a reaction and I can be asked the reason why the reaction will happen or not. That is generally in the case of displacements. Displacement reaction, I have to just check whether the metal and the salt solution of the other metal, which is more reactive. If a more reactive metal is used, displacement will happen. If a less reactive is used, displacement won't happen. That kind of a question I can ask. Then a question on slaking of lime, slake lime. Okay, and the appearance on whitewashing is generally asked as well in the reasoning type of questions. Corrosion and rancidity, of course, very important for reasoning. Okay, so you can be asked corrosion as well. Rancidity as well can be asked as reasoning questions. That I had kept some chips in open for 5 days. After that, when I saw it was smelling badly and even the taste was very bad. So what was the reason? Okay, that kind of question is generally asked. So this reasoning part and observations of a reaction, whenever I have been given some observations that this blue changed to black or this gas evolved, okay, etc., I should always know. Let's move to chapter number 2. Chapter number 2 is acid, bases and salt. Acids, bases and salts. Now this chapter is divided into 2 sections. One is the acid base section, so I will first discuss that, and then the next one is your salt section. In acids and bases, we are generally asked a question regarding indicators. That I had put I had 3 test tubes. Okay, so for example, I had 3 test tubes here. Test tube A, test tube B. Sorry, the drawing is a little unneat. Okay, this is fine. And test tube C. Okay, and in each of them I had 3 solutions, A, B and C. You can see these solutions. I had put blue litmus in all of them and observe this chain. So you have to identify which is acid, which is base and which is neutral. Or I had put phenolphthalein in it, I had put methyl orange in it, etc. is generally asked. Then we are asked a question regarding pH almost every year. Potence dehydrogen. Now pH is a measure of acidity of a solution. If pH, so I'll take it in the next slide. If pH has the value of 7, that means the solution is neutral or the thing is neutral. If it is 0 to 7, it is acidic. Most acidic is between 0 to 3. It's most acidic. The lower the value, more acidic is the pH. And if it's 7 plus, okay, then 7 to 14, or generally I'll write it like this, 7 to 14, it is basic. And where is it most basic? Towards 14, this becomes most basic. So I can be given 3 or 4 solutions and their pH values, and we can be asked which is more acidic, or arrange them in the increasing order of the acidity, decreasing order of the basicity, etc. So hence pH is becoming very important. A whole page on NCERT is based on applications of pH. Okay, that in tooth decay, soil erosion, and then in your agriculture, okay, indigestion, all these questions again are very important. Whenever I have been given applications, it becomes equally important. And lastly, for acid bases, the most important part again is your reactions. Acid with metal will give what? Acid with base, which is your neutralization, will give what? Okay, then I can be asked also to you as strong acids, weak acids. Okay, strong and weak acids, which is strong, which is weak, how do you prove which is strong? I can be given a question on dilution as well. Dilution is an important topic. Dilution means that more you will add water or a solvent, the concentration will decrease of the acid or base in a solution. Okay, then what should be the method of dilution? Should I add water in acid or acid in water? Why? Again, very, very important question. Alright, so this is how you will prepare. Then coming to the salt part. The salt part is a complete learning from the book. Everything is important in salt. Salts may we have what is a salt. Okay, what types of salts are there? We can have acidic salt, we can have basic salt, or we can have a neutral salt. Acidic salt means I have a strong acid and a weak base. Basic salt means strong base and a weak acid. And neutral salt is strong acid and strong base. This is the meaning. Okay, that's a neutral. That means both are equally balanced. So I can be given acids and bases, and if you know which is strong and which is weak, I will be able to find the salt is strong or salt is weak. Acidic salt will have pH less than 7, neutral salt will have pH 7, and basic salts will have pH more than 7. That's the concept. Okay. Further, special salts. If I talk about special salts, all of them are equally important. Okay. If I am asked about sodium NaOH, okay, if I am asked about brine, if I am asked about rock salt, please do not ignore rock salt. Rock salt is just a 2-liner. Okay, so just highlight this rock salt. It's a 2-line part only in the book, and people generally ignore it because the other compounds which are used, baking soda, washing soda, baking powder, are really heavy. And rock salt actually comes in the boards. In my board exam time also, it was rock salt which was asked, not those complex compounds. That doesn't mean you will ignore them, but don't forget to study this rock salt. Okay. Then you are asked about all the compounds, of course, washing soda, baking soda, their formulas, the reactions, applications. Please learn the balanced chemical equations for them. And lastly, we have also a topic on POP, plaster of Paris and gypsum. Sorry, gypsum is like this. Okay. Then how does plaster of Paris, if hydrated, change to a hard solid mass of gypsum? What are the uses of plaster of Paris? What is water of crystallization in plaster of Paris? Is very important as a reasoning question. Generally a 1 marker is asked from plaster of Paris and gypsum, or sometimes even 2 on reasoning questions. Alright, that was about your chapter 2. Coming to your chapter 3, metals and non-metals. Metals and non-metals. This is one of the heavier chapters and is generally asked as a 5 marker. Now in this chapter, the easiest way to study, actually you will see the chapter is divided into many sections. The first section is properties of metals and non-metals. Properties means they can be the physical properties, which will include your conductivity of heat and light, so heat and electricity, luster, producing a sound, that is the sonoricity, brittle, ductile, malleable. These are the physical properties. They are quite easy to learn and I can be given reasoning questions as well. Second is chemical properties. Now chemical properties I will study as reactions, that on which thing they react how. These reactions will include reaction with air or oxygen. How does a metal react with oxygen to form metal oxide? Okay, now in terms of oxygen, the oxides of metals are basic and non-metals generally are acidic or neutral. Okay, so this again becomes equally important. I can be given an oxide and I can be asked, is it an oxide of a metal or non-metal? There is another important oxide term which is used called amphoteric. Amphoteric means it will react with both acid and alkali medium. Okay, and the equations for aluminium oxide and zinc oxide as amphoteric oxides becomes very important. Okay, generally a 2 marker. Alright, then the reaction with water reaction, and in water you should know which metal reacts with hot water. That means it is a less reactive. Cold water. The first is cold water, which means it's very reactive. Then I can be given metal reacting with hot water, which is lesser reactive, and metal reacting with steam, which is least reactive, or some metal don't react at all. So they are absolutely less reactive. So the most reactive ones will react with cold, then with hot, then with steam, and then with none. So this can be asked as reactivity. Okay. Further, some metals which react with cold water like calcium and magnesium, they begin to float because of bubble formation. Okay, this is given in the NCERT. This is very important as a question as well. Yeah, it is asked in reasoning. Okay. Then you can be asked the reaction with acid, that metal plus acid will form salt plus water. Okay, this reaction is very important. Fine, and which metal reacts with which acid and all is important. Another box structure given in this page of metal plus acid reaction, if you will check in the NCERT, is aqua regia. Don't ignore this box, it's very important. Aqua regia is a 3:1 mixture of conc HCl and conc HNO3. Alright, 3:1 mixture. And it is able to dissolve highly metallic non-reactive metals like gold and platinum as well. And hence people who tend to cheat on stealing of metals and all, they generally dissolve the metals and polish them in aqua regia, through which they actually steal it. It's a question in the NCERT, so it becomes very important. Okay, aqua regia. Again, a bridge topic from the chapter of chemical equations and reactions, and this chapter is reactivity series. Reactivity series, which you have to learn by heart. There is no other option, so that you can know which metal will react more than which, and which is able to displace which is not able to displace, etc. Following this comes your next topic of metallurgy or metal extraction. This is a complete chapter in class 12, General Principles of Extraction of Elements, but it's just given in brief in class 10. Generally, we get one question of metallurgy as well. Metallurgy means how I will extract a metal from its ore, that is a rock containing the metal. So the first step of metallurgy will include crushing and grinding of the ore. Grinding, I'm just giving you a brief mind map here. Okay, I'll give a detailed video as well for this. Grinding of the ore. Then I have concentration, which means purification. Concentration has many methods: flotation, leaching, hydraulic washing, etc. You should know all of them by heart. Then becomes your conversion to oxide, because it is easier to extract a metal from its oxide. So I make an oxide of the metal. Okay, and this conversion of the metal to metal oxide is done by two ways, which is roasting and calcination. Roasting and calcination. Okay, This is very important to understand the differences between roasting and calcination, to understand the equation of roasting and calcination. I'll be making a video on this as well very soon and putting the link in the description box. Alright. After this, the next term includes your conversion, reducing of the metal. Reduction of oxide. Reduction of oxide. Now, reduction of oxide to metal is done by a reducing agent. Okay, and this reducing agent can be a carbon metal. Carbon is a very good reducing agent, or it can be a reactive metal, which will displace the metal from its oxide, more reactive metal. And under this category of displacement by a reactive metal, we have a special class of reaction called Thermit reaction. Thermit reaction, and this is very often asked as a 2-marker again. Thermit reaction, it's very important. Its application to join broken railway tracks is very important, and the equation of molten iron with aluminium oxide is most important as well. Sorry, aluminium with iron metal oxide is very important as well. So please go through the Thermit reaction very much, many times I would say. Alright. Then this chapter involves one of the most important topics for class 11, 12 and 10, ionic bond. Ionic bond and Lewis dot structures. Okay. How a metal and non-metal form a bond in a salt, and how it is called a Lewis dot structure. Very important. You can be given a salt, you can be asked its Lewis dot structure, and this guaranteedly, I would say, will be coming in your papers as well, because it is a very important topic for entire chemistry of class 10 and class 11 and 12. So you have to go through this topic very well with many questions. So the only suggestion I would give for Lewis dot structure is many questions. Okay, just practice and practice questions. It will be really clear to you. It's not a difficult topic. I will come up with videos regarding this topic as well and put the link in description as well. Okay. And finally, in this chapter, to end this chapter, I have corrosion, which is a bridge topic again of class of chapter 1. So I won't be taking up in detail. The topic you should go through more in this is alloys. Alloys. Now, what are alloys? Alloy is a homogeneous mixture of metals or metal and non-metal. The purpose of making an alloy is so that we are able to resist a metal from corrosion, so that we are able to give better properties of conductivity, luster, etc. to metal. So basically the main reason is better properties. The shortcomings which a metal has is overcome in its alloys. Okay, so better properties is what I will be writing. Now this definition is not as such. I have in NCERT we have all alloys in detail, which include amalgam, okay, brass, bronze, stainless steel, okay, etc. These are all alloys which I have been given in the NCERT, and you have to prepare what metals make the alloys and what is the use and property of these alloys. So just learn it as a table form, make it as an alloy table in your books. I had done it as an alloy table only, and it would help you to learn the alloys very well and generally help you to answer MCQs, fill in the blanks based on alloys, which are very, very famous in the boards. Alright. So with this we are done with chapter 3. And now moving on to chapter 5. First I will take a 4. 4 is a separate chapter, so I will take a 4 in the next video. Okay, how to study organic chemistry I will be coming up with in the next video for carbon and its compounds. So let's take up chapter 5, which is periodic table. Periodic table. Okay. Chapter 5 is all about your periodic table, in which you have 4 periodic tables in your syllabus, which is Daubigner triads, then the law of octaves by Newland, then you have the periodic table by Mendeleev, and then you have the modern periodic table by Henry Moseley. Okay, these are the 4 periodic tables we have in the syllabus. Now, how to go about each of them? In Daubigner's triads, you should know that the central element will be having atomic mass which is equal to the arithmetic means of the extreme elements. Okay, that's the trick. Newland's octaves, every 8th element will have similar properties. That's the trick. Mendeleev's periodic table, properties of an element are a function of the atomic mass. That's the trick. And here in Mendeleev's periodic table, we should very well learn all the achievements he had and all the shortcomings which he had. Dobinier's laws and even Newland's law of octaves also, you should know what were the achievements they had and what were the shortcomings. Why were the periodic tables rejected? Because in the end, all of these three, this was rejected, this was rejected, this was rejected. Only this was accepted. Okay. Now coming separately to the modern periodic table, which is the most important topic, and you will definitely get a question from this. Here what you have to do is, you have to learn the law, which is the properties of the elements are a periodic function of their atomic number. You should know about groups and periods. What are groups and periods? And how do they go about in groups and periods? How many are there, etc. And finally, the most crucial topic, which is again used in your class 11 and 12 entire inorganic chemistry, is your trends. Trends in groups and periods. That means how does the atomic size vary in a group and period? How does the metallic character tendency to form electropositive substances vary? How does non-metallic or electronegative substances vary? What is a variation in valency and valence electrons? Okay, what is the variation in the size of an ion? These are your trends. Across a group and period you have to study, and I won't be going into details of this because I have already 5 videos uploaded on trends of periodic table and very important questions on this in my channel. You can see the playlist for periodic table. You will find all these questions and the trends explained in detail in my channel, so please go through that as well. Okay, now here in this modern periodic table, you can be either given a direct question on the variation, okay, but generally what I see is we are given, in my time also we were given indirect analytical questions, which were also called HOTS, higher order thinking questions, where you were given an empty periodic table or you were given some substances and you had to arrange them in the order of their size, arrange them in the order of groups and periods, etc. And that was how you had to go about it. So it has to be thoroughly learned and understood. The trends should be understood very well, and then only you will be able to answer these questions very well. And finally, for all these 4 chapters, a general tip, GT I will write, is you have to learn atomic number 1 to 20, preferably 30, but in class 10 level 20 is sufficient. Learn the elements with atomic number 1 to 20. You have to know the element, which element it is, okay, the symbol of the element, and most importantly the valency. Because through the valency you will be able to determine its, through the valency and atomic number you will be able to determine its electronic configuration, through which you will get the group of the element and the period, which will be the location in the periodic table. Okay, so these are most important. If you don't know this, you will definitely struggle in the paper. So first learn this and then go about the chapters, chemical equations, balancing the equation, how to write a reaction, everything will be clear. In my next video, I'll be coming up with the tips for chapter 4, carbon and its compounds, because it's an absolutely different chapter altogether. So I have not included it with these chapters. Okay. So we'll link the next video in the description box as well, and you can benefit from that as well. So please do watch the part 2 of how to study chemistry for class 10 boards and get your concept clear and start off with your learning straight away. With this, we will end the class for today. Thank you, and please do like, share and subscribe my channel. In case if you want me to come up with any topic or any doubt, question, etc. from the board exams or any other exam as well, you would just comment in the comment section and I would definitely reply to it, as well as come up with a video soon. Okay, with this we end the class. Thank you and take